Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a Pokemon that I found to be an unexpectedly decent core breaker against the new Open Great League meta, and that is Vespiquen. Vespiquen's fast move, Poison Sting, now does more damage, and its coverage move, Power Gem, does more damage and costs less energy. Pairing that up with a bait move of X-Scissor, you have a Pokemon that can wall off Mud Slappers with a triple resist, has X-Scissor to outpace and one-shot Malamar, and you have Power Gem, which can hit back against those pesky flying and fire types. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's take a look at my Vespiquen team that I went 9-0 with in the Open Great League. Hopping into the first match, the Dream Lead Vespiquen versus Gastrodon. Opponent safe switches into Licky. I stay in to go for the X-Scissor, but I end up playing to charge attack priority versus the Licky as they make it to the Body Slam. What I probably should have done was just go immediately into the Kanto Marowak. Kanto Marowak, since it's a Mud Slapper that has a ground typing itself, does great at shutting down the Roll-Out users, because they basically have no fast move pressure here. The thought process at the time was that I wanted to get it closer to a range where I could Mud Slap it into Bone Club range and exit with residual energy that I can use to threaten the Gastrodon. Gastrodon isn't going to be able to do anything against Vespiquen. Gastrodon is forced to go for Body Slam, and Vespiquen is extremely bulky, so it's going to be able to withstand that damage no problem. Opponent shields the Gastrodon, which in my view is a pretty big error, because there's nothing that Gastrodon can do against the Vespiquen. Like, they can fire off the Body Slam, but look at this damage right here. Look at Vespiquen go. Tanking that like it's nothing in the back is Wigglytuff, and I should be in a winning position. I do have Poison Sting on the Vespiquen, but I want to preserve health on the Vespiquen to continue to make that poor Gastrodon's life as miserable as possible. Wigglytuff is going to start spamming out Icy Winds, at this point just fishing for debuffs. I'm going to be able to make it to the back-to-back drill runs. Since my attack has been lowered, this will not be enough to knock out. However, at this point, I'm just trying to get it into a range where I can potentially Poison Sting down with Vespiquen. So I'm going to switch into the Vespiquen, I get the Poison Sting through, in comes the Gastrodon, Gastro will go for the Body Slam. I will commit the shield, I do survive a Body Slam, but at this point I need to preserve HP. I don't think that an X-Scissor will quite knock out from here. The X-Scissor is going to get them low, so I'm going to fire off another X-Scissor. This X-Scissor will be able to pick up the knockout. Opponent cannot farm down with the Wigglytuff. They're forced to throw energy, and from here, I should be in a winning position because my Dunsparce, even though it's low, is healthy enough to tank a Charm and take the win. We see an unbelievable lead in the next match, leading Vespiquen into Low Kicks. Low Kicks able to apply a lot of pressure with Sucker Punch, as of course Sucker Punch I don't have a resistance to, but Vespiquen is able to outpace and potentially inflict monster damage with X-Scissor. Here my opponent is going to save switch into Licky. This time I make the better play. I save my energy and I bring in the Shadow Marowak. They go for the Shadow Ball. Lots of Lickys running Shadow Ball today. Honestly, for Licky, I think my preference is Earthquake. Earthquake is just really nice against the Clodsire. My opponent is going to overfarm and play to a CMP Tide that they do not win, trying to make it to the Shadow Ball, but they're unable to get there. Back in comes Low Kicks. I could have made it to a potential move, so Low Kicks is forced to fire off its energy. They boost up with the Trailblaze. I bring in the Vespiquen, and I will go for the extra Poison Sting. X-Scissor is going to be shielded. I'm very close to the back-to-back X-Scissors. If I can land one, Low Kicks is KO'd. Low Kicks not known for its bulk. It's all about the damage. They are not able to get a catch. X-Scissor picks up the knockout onto Low Kicks in the back. I was going to say Clodsire, but that's actually a Nidoqueen in the back. This is, honestly, I've seen a couple of these, so this is not the first time that I've seen this, but the good news is there's no way for me to lose this game. Even if they Earth Power, it doesn't KO. They do Earth Power, and Dunsparce, not going to have a problem. Able to make Drill Run number 2. Drill Run is going to be able to KO the Nidoqueen, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, Vespiquen versus Galar Moltres. This is a very interesting lead matchup. I have Power Gem, which can hit for super effective damage, but Galar Moltres has some pretty nice bulk to it, so a Power Gem will not KO. The Power Gem will land. That does massive damage to the Moltres. Ancient Power would do unfathomable damage, so I am forced to shield. I'm going to look to farm up as much as I can and go for the X-Scissor right before they make their next Ancient Power. If they shield, I'm going to shield back and farm down. They're going to let that go. They bring out Typhlosion. I'm going to bring in the Dunsparce. Opponent is actually going to give me an entire rollout for free. That's very nice. Blast Burn comes through, dealing massive damage. I'm firing off the Drill Run. I'm down 2 shields, but I know that I can get those shields back. I'm able to make it to a second Drill Run, putting a ton of pressure onto this Typhlosion. Drill Run will be shielded. Typhlosion farming up. They have a Thunder Punch plus a Blast Burn. This is quite scary. Blast Burn, of course, inflicts massive damage. I have to make a call. What will be more valuable? I'm just going to trust in K-Whack. So I'm going to bring in the Vespiquen. Opponent switches out into Abomasnow, and they're going to regret that decision, as now I get to Power Gem massive damage to the Abomasnow. Abomasnow is unfortunately able to fire off the move. I didn't see them get a third there when I threw my move, but I can bring in the Marowak. But my problem is this. They have a Shadow Blast Burn on Typhlosion. But Shadow Kanto Marowak takes the Blast Burn from that Shadow Typhlosion and wins the game. Shadow K-Whack, what an unbelievable beast. I played that game very terribly. But good news is, my Pokemon are strong and they were able to bail me out, and I'm able to take the win. We move to the next match, Vespiquen versus Dragonite. I'm going to try and mess with this Dragonite a little bit. I'm going to throw an X-Scissor and throw a Power Gem right away to make them think this is another X-Scissor. But it's not. The Power Gem connects. In comes Carbink, immediate switch out into the Dunsparce. Opponent has Dugong in the back, and this game is instantly over. So getting rid of that Dragonite was basically the guaranteed win con for me, because now my opponent just has no good way of getting rid of that Shadow Kanto Marowak. They pivoted out into the Dugong, and Dugong is just not going to do amazingly here. With the debuffs, it can make it so my Rock Slide damage, which already isn't great, is even worse. But since Switch Clock is up, I just have to watch for a catch. So I watch for it. There it is. Hello Carbink, meet Shadow Kanto Marowak. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next match, Terrible Lead Vespiquen versus Alolan Sandslash. I'm going to save switch into Dunsparce. Opponent responds with low kicks, and this is not an answer to Dunsparce. If they made this switch, they're triple weak to Dunsparce, which is not something that I would probably recommend when it comes to having long-term success with a team, because Dunsparce, while it doesn't have overwhelmingly positive matchups, just has an insane amount of neutral play into most things. I will fire off Rock Slide number 2. They give me switch advantage and shield advantage. That's something I basically try to never do, is if I have to go down shields, I will always play for switch. If you're down switch and you're down shields, you're going to be in a really tough spot. In the back is Mandibuzz, and now we get to see how does Vespiquen do against Mandibuzz. This is a super effective Aerial Ace. Vespiquen able to tank it pretty nicely. Again, Vespiquen does have some pretty good bulk to it. I will fire off the Power Gem at the Mandibuzz. Power Gem is going to connect. Super effective damage, but after all, it is a Mandibuzz, so Mandibuzz able to tank that and still be in the green. Aerial Ace will connect. I'm looking to farm up 4, and the move opponent is going to be firing off their Aerial Ace. Their switch clock will be up. I'm going to click Power Gem, intentionally anticipating the catch, because what this is going to allow me to do is Mud Slap down with the Marowak. So my opponent was thinking, oh, this is a good catch, this move is only going to be neutral, but for me it actually works out better, because now I just Mud Slap down. I'm not in Dark Pulse range, so they're just in a very difficult spot where they're just getting swept by a Shadow Kanto Marowak. I can fire off this Rock Slide, they're going to shield, but there's more where that came from. Kanto Marowak able to fire off another Rock Slide. This will not pick up the knockout, but it just gets them far too low. If this KO'd, I might be in danger, but Shadow K-Whack is going to put the team on his back, withstanding the damage. I switch into Vespiquen to go for the Poison Sting Snipe, and the opponent resigns the match. We see a bit of an awkward lead in the next match, Vespiquen versus Skuntank. I'm going to look to bank some energy and then bring out the Dunsparce. My thought process here is if they're leading Skuntank, they're probably not ABA weak to Mud Slap. And if I'm expecting that they're not going to have a potential Clodsire in the back, then I feel pretty okay with banking energy on Vespiquen and giving up switch. Because Vespiquen, of course, if you see a Clodsire, you instantly lose. There's just nothing you can do against it. That's why I have a lot of ground type coverage in the back to help cover for that situation. Here, unfortunately, my Dunsparce is met with Diggersby, and this is just a really rough spot to be in. Scorching Sands will pick up the knockout. I bring in Vespiquen, and that is a Fire Punch. So they are running Fire Punch on the Diggersby. This will be super effective damage. Vespiquen tanks it very well. I don't think one X Scissor will KO, so I'll have to throw 2 here. So I'll go for X Scissor number 1 and go for X Scissor number 2 on charge attack priority. X Scissor, not the hardest hitting move ever. Down goes Diggersby, and if they bring back in the Skuntank, I could just bring in the Kanto Marowak, and it's Feraligatr in the back, and this game is over. My opponent just doesn't know it yet, because Shadow Kanto Marowak can farm all the way down in the 2s. I'm going to learn from the Kanto Marowak feature. You can throw a Mud Slap and then a Bone Club in this matchup. As long as you throw it on good timing, my opponent anticipates that I'd go for charge attack priority. They end up letting through the free Mud Slap. That was basically their win con, was hoping that I CMP-tied, but I did not. And now I get to land Bone Clubs onto the Skuntank. Skuntank is going to shield, but unfortunately, there's more Bone Clubs ready to go. Bone Club number 2 will connect massive damage to the Skuntank, switch into the Vespiquen to force their energy. They don't throw it, so I'm able to get to the X Scissor, and despite a pretty rough lead and rough mid-game, we're able to take the win. Hopping into the next match, Vespiquen versus Jumpluff. Vespiquen again versus another flyer. This flyer, of course, is going to be the Grass Flyer, which means Poison Sting and Power Gem will hit for super effective damage. They throw after 5, so it's Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is 5-4, 5-4 pacing. I'm going to farm up, fire off the Power Gem on charge attack priority to their Aerial Ace. Power Gem will connect. That does a lot of damage, and this is the non-Shadow Jumpluff, so they're bulkier than the Shadow. I'm going to look to farm up quite a bit of energy, go for, again, another CMP tie, and if they let this through, Vespiquen is winning the zeros versus flying type, and it does. In comes Claude, and I just immediately pivot out of here. I banked the X Scissor for later, but realistically, I just needed to leave as soon as I can. I'm shielding because I don't think they're likely to bait, and shielding an Earthquake does help Dunsparce quite a bit in this matchup. If an EQ lands, then Claude can start firing off Stone Edges, and of course Stone Edge is a lot cheaper, so I want to try and make their life as difficult as possible, so that shield to me felt worth it. I still have the Shadow Kanto Marowak in the back, and I do still have a shield for it as well. Opponent now is going to get to fire off the Earthquake and finally get to land it. I overfarm with the Dunsparce, and Drill Run will KO unless they're willing to commit to this matchup. So Drill Run will be shielded. Whatever's in back, they do not want to deal with Dunsparce. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to trust in Shadow Kanto Marowak up a turn. In the back, it is Feraligatr, and this game is over. My opponent does not have a way to win it. I have a guaranteed win condition in this match. They are 3 off their move. I can throw 2 Mud Slaps, switch, and click X Scissor. If I catch, I win. If I don't catch, then I click X Scissor, they get KO'd, and I win anyway because I have a Bone Club banked. So that's a situation where, as long as I switch exactly what I did, it just provides me a guaranteed win condition, and the opponent is going to resign the match. Great lead in the next match here, leading the Vespiquen into Malamar. Malamar is going to get outpaced. They only make it to a superpower by the time I make it to the X Scissor. X Scissor is no-shielded. The opponent did not know Vespiquen's moveset, and that's going to cost them. They only make the superpower. That does nothing to Vespiquen. In comes Azumarill. And Vespiquen is now going to start launching Power Gems. Oh my goodness. Malamar, so good in so many matchups. Just getting absolutely shredded by that X Scissor. The Azumarill, I do want to try and keep away from the Kanto Marowak if at all possible. Opponent does throw an alignment there, so they give me a free Poison Sting. Vespiquen can make the Azumarill matchup very close. It's still not a winning matchup, but in the 1s and 2s, Azu is winning it, but it's leaving on extremely low health. Azu will fire off the Play Rough. I'm just going to look to farm up as much as I can with the Dunsparce. And I fire off the Drill Run, winning charge attack priority. Azumarill is very bulky. They're able to hang on and withstand that damage. I'm just going to let the Dunsparce get hit with the Play Rough in the back. It's Feraligatr, and we are in a terrific position to close out this game. The Drill Run is no-shielded. I could just farm down with the Kanto Marowak. I love Kanto Marowak so much. Initially, I tried the team with Gastrodon. I played 2 games, and even though Vespiquen put in a ton of work, I lost both games. Because in the end game, in one game, they had a Drifblim, in one game, they had a Mandibuzz, and it was on my Gastrodon, and I was just completely walled. So saying, you know what? I can't run such an alignment-dependent Pokemon. I have to run a more flexible ground type, so I switched to Kwak, and then immediately won 9 games in a row. So Shadow Kwak definitely proved to be the better closer for this team. In this final match, this Ariados is in a miserable position. They are debuffing, but they're getting smacked by these Power Gems. This next lunge is still not going to KO, and then I can fire off another Power Gem and win the 0-1 shield. Opponent Nice catch. They switch out into Licky Licky. The rollout will snipe me because rollout is double super effective. So the rollout snipes me. But now in comes the Shadow Kanto Marowak. And Shadow Kanto Marowak, just the more I use it, the more I fall in love with this Pokemon. It's an incredibly good support Pokemon. Shadow Ball is going to connect. After the Shadow Ball, well, after the first one, they do get to the next Body Slam in 2, just with how residual energy works. I'm going to farm up to 100 energy. I want to exit with as much energy as I possibly can, so I'll fire off the Bone Club, and that does pick up the knockout. And I just have so much energy. If they bring in the Ariados is getting knocked out. Oh, in the back, they have a Azumarill instead. I can Bone Club, wait a turn, Bone Club again. Bone Club, not the strongest move ever, but of course a lot better this season. And once I land that, then it's just Dunsparce time. And I just need to farm. As long as I always have a move banked, my opponent has no way to win this game, and I just have to watch for a catch. So I can just wait turns. So I farm up. Opponent is going to switch into the Ariados. My plan was to farm up to 8 and then wait the turn, but they end up switching on 7. I can just throw back to back because the Ariados isn't at a move. Double Rock Slide picks up the knockout onto the Ariados. Back in comes the Azumarill, but this Dunsparce is just far too healthy. Dunsparce firing off this Drill Run into the Azumarill, gets them low. It looks like maybe one more rollout will be game over for the opponent. The Play Rough will connect. Rollout does go through. Down goes Azumarill. And thus concludes my 9-0 run with Vespiquen. All in all, I had so much fun running this Pokemon. This Pokemon is not top tier meta by any means, but considering what a lot of people are running currently, it can have a very nice anti-meta role, and it feels a lot more competitive a Pokemon than it ever has before. The whole reason that I even looked at Vespiquen in the first place was, as many battlers do this season, in a search for a Pokemon that resists Mud Slap. If you're running a team in the Open Grade League and none of your Pokemon have a resistance to Mud Slap, you're probably going to lose a lot of games just getting completely overrun because of how strong Mud Slap is this season. So when looking at a Pokemon that could resist Mud Slap, I first looked to Flyers. Flyers, of course, have the double resist, but outside of Talonflame, Jumpluff, and Mandibuzz, a lot of the Flyers are just pretty bad. I guess Drifblim as well, but unfortunately my Shadow still has Frustration on it, just because Wing Attack got nerfed, and Wing Attack is what most of the Flyers ended up using. So with the Flyers out of the way, I wanted to take a look at the bugs. And there are quite a few interesting bugs, but my caveat was I wanted a bug type that also had some play against Mandibuzz. And in doing so, Vespiquen was kind of the only option there. Because of course there is stuff like Charge-a-Bug, but Charge-a-Bug does not actually resist ground. It's neutral to ground. So if you have a Charge-a-Bug against a Gastrodon, you're not going to have a good day. So Vespiquen, I think it has a lot more play than it ever has. It's not like a must-build Pokemon by any means, but I think it's way better than it was before. And in this set, I was going up against, I believe there was at least one former 3700 ELO battler. So I was going up against some pretty elite competition. And again, it's definitely relying on its typing to be a core breaker in the meta, but with extra fast move damage and a cheaper and stronger coverage move, it does allow it to live up to that core breaker role a bit better. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.